Good morning. This is Max Farrow. This is Dex Trader, and we're going to be doing some 5-minute trades this morning as we go through. Now, I'm just going to mass record this entire thing. You might see me speed up. You might see it slow down. But we're going to just kind of go with the flow. Win, lose, or draw here for the day, just so you can see my methods that I use and what I look for, very importantly. Okay, first thing I start to look for is my version of trend over the last 50 or so bars. So we look like we're in an up model. Not really committing to the up process. Here we go for that one. I like that little hit there, higher than here. Sort of consolidating here for this version. A little bit of a down model happening here, downtrend. Boom. Okay. So I'm waiting now for a couple up arrows here. This would have been a good one to get into, but I just came in just a little too late. And the very next up arrow for this one will be the big one. We're going to be trading with Nadex, and that's what we're going to be using. We're going to be using the demo for Nadex because I'm getting back into doing videos while I trade, and then once we get a few things with me working with the camera and doing all these other things, then I'll jump back over to live. That sound you just heard was my version of the 5-minute signals on my MetaTrader 4. And there's the ones that I want to really hear. There we go. We have the up arrow, 11.12. I'm going to come back down to support here and go 111.11. 5-minute Forex, USD/JPY, 111.11. There doesn't seem to be anything on that, so I'm going to put $70 on a working order and close. Goes 111.15. If I go back over to the actual arrow, 111.13. If I hit that, then there's a possibility. Yep, there's no 13, and that's 2 points up above that. So I don't feel comfortable with doing that one because it's at 15. If it was 13, I'd do it. So I'm going to put it on 111.11, which is the number for that process. And if it drops down a little bit and gets it, it gets it. If it doesn't, then we wait 5 minutes for another trade. Remember, I'm waiting for perfection. I'm not forcing my hand. Here we go. This thing marched off into the stratosphere. Another big push, but again, I look for, since I've found my downtrend happening. Look at that double. That's a perfect double top in a 1-minute series. But I look for my downtrend, a little bit of pullback, and then wait for the first arrow heading in my direction. See, trend, pullback, arrow in my direction. So the flow that I use is very simple. I use my first part of the flow. The first question I have to answer is, which direction is the trend? My second answer that I need is, where's my support and resistance after my arrow, right? Third question I have to ask is direction, of course, for my arrow, right? So I need consecutive arrows. So I got 1 arrow, 2 arrow, pullback, redirection, okay? That's what I look for. I don't try to trade the pullback, and I never, ever, ever trade the second arrow. I'm always looking for that very first arrow. That's where the most success is. This is why I love 5-minute trades, is because you may not get into a trade, but you're not waiting an hour for the signals to recycle or anything else. You're only waiting 5 minutes. This is where the patience value comes in. I'm going to check my thing here, USD, JPY, 1 minute. That's a lot of. Here's the thing, that there's a new SR level there. Is at 111.16, sitting pretty high. 111.8. See, that's the right there, at 111.8 to 111.11, right in that area. This is why you can get different information on from one to another. And that's okay to get that. I mean, you're in that process for a reason. Here's another signal happening. Okay. Just have to find out which one that was. Here's the second arrow. You can kind of see this would be a no arrow for there. Because we've been consolidating for so long on this, from this whole thing right now, we sort of broke down below this area for the first time, but now we're back up again in it. I could see doing maybe a pullback from this level, this 31.18 area, but again, now we're playing with fire. Now we're just sort of speculating from a line that's right there. So again, I'm not here just to force trades. I'm here to look for my setup. And my setup is easy. More consolidation, but it does have an air. Now, the trend got broke right here. Okay, so once the trend gets broken really hard like this, we have to kind of look at is there a reversal coming now, right? And that's the big thing. So we just have to pay attention now. Let's look at the, these have been on for a long time, so I apologize, it looks weird. When you scope out, there's a lot of minutes there. Okay, but we have a downtrend happening here from this position, so only in the last 30 bars. You know, on something like the accounts here, we could easily put on, if you want to see like a version of trend, it's easy. You just come over here, go insert, go indicators, go trend, go moving average. Now I like to do 50 on the 1 minute. So I'm going to do that, and I guess I'll do like a darker purplish color, navy. Boom, there we go. And now we can kind of see directions heading down. Now this could have been something for, since we're heading down, that was this arrow right here. I didn't even see this arrow pop up. Probably should have paid more attention to it right there. But this would have been that value in here. And I don't think that, you know, we would have used this signal, but it would have been 1696 on Nadex for Euro USD. Euro USD 1696. And 1695 was there. In fact, it's still sitting there, even just 1 minute in. Getting it for $24. Because this level's really strong, we have this arrow right here, and we have this one right here. So this arrow here, this arrow right here is the one that's telling me that we popped up to test this area, and now I think we're going south again. But that comes with experience. I'm not trading like a novice here. You can see 59 seconds. We're going to be on the win side. I'm going to insert and put a moving average here as well. The MACD has a sort of a moving average happening here in this middle band here, as you can kind of see. But it sits at 26. Now, because we're in an up pattern, when the signal comes out, what I'm looking for is a version. Where's the support and resistance? Second question I asked, trend, direction, and then support and resistance. And because we're so down here, and this price came out, and it was right above here, it's probably signal I would have gotten into. But I'm not sure if I don't think I would have gotten in at that level. Probably pulled back to here. But again, it's all speculation. Wait. Nope, it looks like that one. Yep, there it is. It's the win. Copy. Here. That is the win. I haven't traded since the other day, which has been a couple of days. Put my time in. Copy. And here. 22.25. Again, just trading at one contract. We're not adding the incremental crawl yet. There we go. Now I wait for another adjustment. Meanwhile, I'll put another trend marker on. There we go. I don't look at these micro bends either on a line here. What I'd look for is a visual box, basically, to where if I take a group of pairs, okay, or a group of candles, I'm looking for where does that candle interject at the height, and then where does it exit at, right? Kind of process. And so once I see that, I've determined a short-term trend value, right? And you can kind of see that the expression is from here to here, and we've immersed somewhere below. And once it breaks that box, then I can start looking at, you know, a faster trend. But when as it's consolidating through this, sometimes the consolidation is a little bit bigger. Sometimes it may consolidate for longer periods of time. And this is what I look for, right? Here's that consolidation again, and then we have a immersion here, or we're going into the box here, and then we bounce off these levels, and then we immerse here. Now I know we can start validating trend again, because I go back and I look, it broke here, you know, where's it going now? And so as it substantiates this level here, just any arrow from here is just not going to work. So now we're heading back down to a downtrend. What I'm looking now for here is another up arrow to retest here. Again, I'll get close enough, and then the next arrow down is my score sheet. That's what I'm really looking for, is a arrow on an up period, or even another down arrow right now would be good here. But again, these are advanced techniques, not just out of the day, follow every arrow kind of box, right? By the way, that trade that I did here, whether or not you go against your flow, remember the flow first is to figure your trend, okay? And I can configure my trend. If I know it's going up, I can trade, not really against the trend, but secondly, is that the other rule that I made is that I look at support and resistance. And this is a big one for me, is that I do look at those micro support and resistance areas. And then 3 is that I find the price that's appropriate for me, okay? Because I've asserted the direction, I've looked at the arrows. I know which ones I want to go with, which ones I don't. And the average, the majority of the ones that I go with are, I wait for, you know, my trend to be established. I look for pullback, and then I go with the trend with the first arrow after the pullback. That's 90% of my trading. 10% of my trading are these offshoots that I get that I know that I see a good level, and I go with a second arrow. Simple. And why do I use 2 platforms? I sometimes use this one, and I sometimes use this, is because I feel more comfortable with the MetaTrader 4 version, right? Because I can navigate it really, really well. The reason why we made the WB was because we knew that there was some cause and effect to people's abilities, right? So here we've established a downtrend. Now we have a little bit of a pullback arrow here. Uptrend, pullback, right? Downtrend, pullback. And that's what I'm looking for now. These are the actions that I'm looking for. And this is like my, hey, pay attention, it's just about to happen. Right? So that's what I'm looking for. Now, on these pullback arrows, sometimes they may win, but I don't take them. They have a lower rate of success for me. All right? So, but I do look also, if I pull in my range here, there's a nice little setup here on this support and resistance line, big thick line. And is that going to push off and let it support, or is it going to be? So this information is unsure right here, right? Because we're sitting in a sort of like a super, like the beginning part of a cluster frame, right? And I want it to push out. So even though if it comes back up just for a little bit, I want another arrow to tell me, okay, that's the one I look at. But then I'll also be looking at some of those other things. So when the setup happens, I'm more crucial over anything. We can kind of see the same thing happening here. Downtrend, up arrow. Now this up arrow is doing exactly what it's supposed to. It's telling me that this is the pullback and this is the zone of pullback. And if it can stay off of that zone, the very next arrow down should give me a good little push, at least down to this area. As long as that area is not, if I get a down arrow and I'm right here, I may not, you know, or just up a little bit more, I may not take this one. Why? Because it's too close to this big chalky line here. Let's pull back just a little bit and see. Yeah. That is a trusted area right there and right there and right there. Yeah. But from many weeks or many minutes ago. See, I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be accurate. Right? And there's a difference between perfection and accuracy. Accuracy, let me tell you what perfection is first, right? Perfection is drawing a perfect circle all the way around, right? Which I did not do here, and hitting exactly in the middle. That's perfection. Where accuracy is drawing a circle and hitting somewhere in your desired range, right? Your desired range of accuracy. You can tell yourself, hey, I want to hit right in the middle, yay for my bullseye. But accuracy is when I shoot for a product, when I shoot for a range, I'm within that range. I don't have to hit it on the dot, but accuracy is shooting at what you're looking for. And if I'm looking for this range and I hit within that range, it doesn't matter if I'm in the middle or it's there or right there or right there or right there. It doesn't matter as long as I'm within my range, right? So I'm looking to be accurate. This setup here told us too that you know, when we come up against this, we have an arrow up to force, and this first rejection arrow here probably could have been a good setup for us to come up to our, you know, our little line here and say, okay, well, let me grab 16.99 and see what that looks like on the Euro USD. And I come over and I go 16 right here, 16.99. See, perfect, almost perfect. Now there's nothing available on it. I mean, you could put something on it and put a working order on it, that kind of stuff. But again, when it has that much, you know, resistance from that side, then it becomes clear that the system does work. Let's go back over and look. And sometimes when I get all things considered and everything just sort of lines up, everything's perfect, I pull the trigger, and this is where I get my money. And if we look at the sheet here, okay, this, you know, trading on at this particular type of level, how much was made here over the week? Now I didn't do many trades because I didn't have a lot of time to do them, but if I do a sum down here, you can't really see it here. Let me pull my screen down just a little bit. You can see right there, right? $212 was made. So not too bad. We just got another hit. Let's see if there's another hit in here on here. No, but let's go look at that. There's the second version of pullback, because we have the up, we have the here, we have the pullback here, down, pullback. No other sanctioning marks. I'm gonna refresh my page. Is another reason why, you know, when I invented this charting system for the WB, it was because people were really yelling at me for convenience. Oh, all I have is a pad at work. I can't really do much. I need something that I could just tap on and do, and you know, I don't want to use MetaTrader. Blah 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 blah. There's all these stories of what they didn't want to use and want to have. So, but as we work more and more with it, we find that we want to have something more fluid, and that's coming. It's coming. If you've been watching, every once in a while, when I stop talking, when I'm just watching, you might see time express pretty fast. So in making these videos, I don't want you to have to sit here for an hour, but I want you to see that I'm making the trades. You're sitting at the top of the hour here. There is an understanding with using this system. Once you become fluid using the signals as markers in time, okay, you could see the story, right? You could see the story. You begin to see the pattern of acceptance here, you know. Even, you know, you got into this, since we're in an up trade, this is the pullback, right? And then here is the range to go upwards. Where would you go with this arrow? Well, you could come all the way down to support and resistance, or you can use the moving average number, 7404. And if you had that, this would have been an easy win from that position. I mean, even if you went from the tip of the arrow, you still would have won from this position if there was an available number. But you'll find more often than not that the moving average sort of at the same prices at what Nadex has on their indicative price, within a certain degree on the statements that they have, you know. So you'll see one is going to be the moving average. I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. Here, I was going to say, if this first bar here was going to give me a, you know, little doji or even a shooting star or a hammer or what have you, then I'd probably say come up to 74.03 and call it. Here in about 2 minutes, we'll probably be getting into a trade. Same thing with here. We have a down, we have a test of that support level. I think this, see, now that we have this minute arrow is there, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be heading in a down arrow now. Here's the Euro USD, 44 seconds, 1693. It's sitting at 1693. I wouldn't get into this trade because it's just too close. I'm pretty sure we're going to head down south like that now. Now in a few minutes there's going to be news releasing, or is it 9 o'clock? No, it's 9:45 news is releasing. And again, I don't sit here all day long. I come in, I sit down and I look at my charts. I go through that value. Here we go. Here's that. It's USD. Here we go. Uptrend. Here's the pullback. And keep in mind, I don't think this is going to pull back too far. I mean, we could put 111.18 on NADEX, on the USD JPY. But again, I'm going against that principle on 111.18. There's 17. Down arrow, up. Down, 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 up. Up, 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 down. There's a third pullback arrow there. It's trying to reach back down to the support area. Down, 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 up. If you talk yourself through the story, right? What's the story? Well, the story has a beginning, and the beginning always starts with, hey, what's the trend? Right? Then once you do that, I skipped a letter. You don't skip a number. Okay. The second is where's the basis of it at? Where's the support and resistance areas? Where is this thing? Is this thing, since it's heading in the downtrend, or even if it's consolidating, you kind of know, hey, it's sitting in this box. If it pierces below, I got a pretty good deal, right? I can come up here and say, I'm going to be below here. It's coming out of that box. Pretty powerful way to trade. Now, what we're looking for too is broken trends, right? Like this one right here sort of did break the trend a little bit, but not by much, right? So this could still be considered, but if it's bouncing off this area to kind of come up and reestablish a little micro trend in the opposite direction, we're looking, where does it get broken at? And that's right here. This whole section sort of kind of fits together, but it's real prominent that there's a level here and a level here. Okay, so this kind of broke it, but we don't know until it establishes another new high. And if it establishes another new high off this foothold, then this trend's broken. It's no longer going down. It might be going up. Okay, it's the same thing here, is that we established a marker here, but broke it here, bounced down. But because we didn't break it here, because it sort of pulled back just a little bit more, if it continues to jag it up from this point, this might be waiting for it to end on something else. And again, we've established that marker here. We've come down, set a new low low, or new high low, new high, lower high, lower low. But now we've broken that here. The moment that this starts to come down, if it uses this foothold to go up, we may no longer be in a downtrend. We may be now starting our uptrend marker, which then the first down arrow would not be a continuation of downtrend, would be a reversal on an uptrend. Yep, there we go. It's been established. Okay, let's go look at the USD, Great Britain Pound USD. Yep, there it is. So now it's really been established that from here to here, down to here, but this has been broken and we're now interjecting past, probably going to be coming up to new highs to try to either here or here. So what I want to do is I just want to place a line. just want to place a line right there. Boom, right about, I'm almost saying right about there. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to grab a little bit here, you know, real close to here, here, injection, touch, and then back down, you see? So that's what I'm kind of looking for. Since that's set high to here, above that, and we're coming back down below the SMA here, it's going to retouch here. So this is an opportunity that if I get an up arrow from this position, okay, because we're heading down, if I get an up arrow now that we've established a broken trend, this might be an opportunity to do a buy. You have to be open to all this. You can't be closed-minded to, oh, but that arrow says it was down, I got to go with it. The same thing here, that these three arrows could be committing to a down environment. Let's go look to see what our, and then we get a whole bunch of, yep, there we go. Now, this is an opportunity, but again, we sit flat, okay? We're sitting flat. We don't have a clear, we just came off of this process, but we broke our trend. Is this something you want to get into? That's what you have to ask yourself. I'm going to look at all the other ones to see if I have anything better. You see we're heading down, heading back up. I'm not getting anything that I really am like screaming at right now. And see, because now that this arrow is here and it's below, if this was still up above, okay, I would probably say, all right, we have a trend reversal and we have an opportunity to buy in. But because it's below the, now it was above, which created support, now it's resistance, okay? And I don't think that this is a, because these lines aren't perfect, right? This is all about a zone, okay? So this little micro zone that happens kind of looks like this, right? And if that's the case, a little bit below and a little bit above, it's that interjection above it now that would be the zone. Now, if this rejects it, like it's sort of doing right now, then I think we've got that one. But this is the pullback, and I'm calling this now because I want you to all see as well that this is going to be the zone that it's going to be in. Okay, over the next 10-20 minutes, it's never going to leave this zone. Or I made that a little bit too big. It's never going to leave. It's not going to leave this zone right here, unless there's some major news happening or something. But it's going to stay in this area because we've looked at. Draw that again one more time, right about here. I can't leave that up there because it stops the framework of the system, but that's basically it. I'll do that so it can stay on. Now see, because it's interjected above, here's what I want to do. I kind of want to look at this now. 3116, 3116. 3115. 199, 2 minutes left, 70. I really want a good price. I don't want to just put in any old price in there, so I'm going to put a working order on this just for 2 minutes. Now, normally, and again, this is not about the norm, right? Well, that's what happens. 15 is not going to come back from 5 pips. So I'm going to take this off. But watch, I want you to go over, we're going to go over here and see. Look at this. It did exactly what we thought it was going to do. But it didn't give us the exact markers we needed, right? Sometimes it'll do it because it's sitting in a zone. You got to keep that in mind, that this is a more of a zone kind of process instead of a absolute, right? So that's the zone right there. And how do I engage that? Is that I kind of look to see where the bodies are and the tails are and where some of the other touches are. But even if that makes sense to you, then this would have been a trade that you could have got into, and you would just use the bottom of your zone as your support, your number as support. right? And as soon as it got established, it would have went. So we're looking to see if would this have done this. Now, this is a learning experience for you. But this is for the Great Britain Pound USD. Everything else is operating a little bit differently. You see, here's that up arrow, down, 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 up. It's pushing to this zone right here. Remember, I'm looking for very methodical trading here. Here's that zone that's happening right now. Down arrow, up arrow, because we're heading for it down. And that's what we're looking for. There was no arrow that appeared. Up, up, up. But this is the pullback arrow, right? Unless, remember what I said, unless, because this has established a broken part of the trend, a broken chain in the trend, this could be that process, remember. So this is it's doing exactly what I said it was going to do. If it ever breaks the trend, like it did here, little robot. No, now it's a robot. But since it broke that trend, now we need to take it to where it's completely different. So now it's a completely different trend that's happening right now. And you could tell that by this area right here, because it's flattened out. See how the 50 is flattened out some. So that's really important, that it's because while you're here in this up arrow, you can see this is definitely going down. And here's a down arrow, here's a down, right? So pretty powerful. Now also, if you looked at this signal here, you're all the way down here, you're below. We would have probably set our marker here, and this would have been, it would have been barely a win. But if I was just below, I could have set it here at 31.16, whatever the price would have came out to be from that point. Let me see what the price was. Was 31.16, right? So it all depends on what it was. On something like this, I'm not trying to force fit, wins everywhere. This would have been definitely a loss from that position if we would have gotten in from this arrow. But if we would have gotten in the support level. Now, I don't tell you to get this actual support levels. Remember, it's because it's a range, right? So I look at the bar that's pushing it, right? And I kind of pull that bar as my box, and you can kind of see, look how that fits. You see? So now it fits here, of course. Okay, comes back up and it fits here. Look at that rejection right there from this level right here, from that first interjection bar. So that's what I kind of look at. So I would have set my margin up to here at 31.18, not the other at the actual support. Which would have been the same thing for here, 31.16. But you can't pull 31.16.2 from that position. This would have been a win, easy win. Here's another process. We're getting a little bit of a consolidation now, because we're consolidating to this platform here. But our MA is still saying that we're sort of going in downward trend. We get some rejection happening here, but not. If not, we're reestablishing now. You see, we're reestablishing because here's the high, and now it's starting to reestablish a trend, a little upwards trend here. And if it uses this support level here, it's really important that it bounces off and goes. So if we get an up arrow here, we have to look at where's that range at now. Let me pull a box up, look at that range. That range would be somewhere in here, like this. Like that. That would be the range right there. So in 2 minutes, because we got another bar still. This rejects, come up here, and we get an up arrow. This is a great trade to be in. And you see what happened? See that range that I said it was going to be at? You know, right about there. Let's look what happened. Rejected it. Boom. You see, so this stuff is it's not really rocket science, but you got to go through it. You got to learn it. Now, whether or not you see a whole bunch of trades on, or I'm not getting into trades or anything else, I'm going to take this time to tell you about a little trade secret called CVG, right? And this is an algorithm that I created. And it's consistency plus volume equals goal. It doesn't matter if I only trade 1 a day or 2 a day or 3 a day or 10 a month. As long as I know that those are consistent, that I can win consistently, well, guess what? Screw everything else. I'll sit here all day long just to make 3 trades if I have to, if I know that I'm going to win $1,000, right? Because it's all relative on how much money you make, right? So if I tell you, if you're going to sit in your chair to make $100 a day, and you had to do so for 10 hours, would you do it? Well, that's only $10 an hour, right? So now you're starting to put into factors ROI. How much money am I making per? How much is my time worth, right? That's what you're trying to put down to. But let me tell you, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's go back and look now because there's some stuff happening on the site. No arrow. There's another up arrow for now. Now we're consolidating trend, right? Now we've broken through. So now this is a trend arrow. It's no longer a pullback arrow. It's a trend arrow. No longer pullback. It's a trend. Okay, because we've established higher highs. So now these are no longer pullback. We didn't know that. We don't know that. We knew that here. So the possible first arrow here could have been considered a trend arrow, and we could have probably gone with this. But again, this is a teaching video as well. Lower, lower, sort of broke in there. Consolidation with a double top there. So this does not establish yet a trend. Your job as a trader is to establish whether or not you should be in a trade or not. And you should look at 50 different ways. And absence is the only way to guarantee that you don't lose, but you also can't win. And you do have to take risks. You do have to take gambles. But you don't do so with just, I wonder if this will work kind of mentality. As you're testing things out, as you're working things, you have to keep proper notes. Now, I used to keep all kinds of notes. I used to tell myself it's on the third arrow. You know, I used to do notes like this. Third arrow, trend up, same price. So if I did a SMA price, if I use the SMA as the price on the indicator for that up, I would put it into that kind of little shorthand kind of note narrative to me. Christ, you could write a whole book in there if you wanted to. You know, link it to a page that you write an article about it, that kind of stuff. So, but my point is that I used to use all those notes as, you know, a process to say, hey, you know, here's the flow that I'm doing. Now, if I've been trading my live account and trading one contract a piece, sitting here for the hour to make $22, not even been sitting here an hour yet, right? Only 44 minutes and I made $22. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to sit here for every hour and make $22, but it could be. But how do I make $44 for the hour? I simply trade 2 contracts. You get where this is going? So that's where CVG comes in. That's where the whole mentality of this world comes in. And this is the tools that I use. Some people ask, well, how come you could be at 92% success rate? And you're seeing it right now. Why? Right? Is I don't take high-risk gambles. I don't just go, I wonder if this will work. Let me throw 10 contracts down today. Right? I read the market and I establish the concept of the market. The moment I do that, I begin to win. Now, because we're heading down, these big arrows down are pushing past, but there's a support and resistance area. Again, it creates a story that we have to watch and watch carefully. Here's that same process without the other support line there. But that support line really is right here. Where's that? Right there, I think. So is that right? Yeah. USDJPY, sitting right around there. Let's go look at that again. Yeah, so it's really, it's, let me move that down right about there. Right? Because you can kind of see where does this make sense? It makes sense there, here, here, here. Because look, support, broken through, come back, retest, right? Support, now resistance broken through, come back, retest, and punctured. Retest, retest, punctured, 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 but it stays and it vibrates around this level, right? And how do you make that level look good? You come in and you grab right here the injection arrows only, and you're looking at that. Oh my God, look at that. Look how perfect that is. See how perfect that is? See how perfect that is when that sets up there, that sets up there. These all set up here, these little micro movements. You think, well, 1 minute trades are a lot different than 5 minute trades. No, they all operate the same. I'll be honest with you, they all operate the same. Another continuation arrow, another continuation arrow. No arrow, another continuation arrow down. This is a long reversal process. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 down. It's just, I rarely ever see this many arrows in a row, but except when you get a fluke environment to where this was probably originally viewed as a retracement or pullback, and then we get continuation arrows of 3 in a row. Pullback, pullback, and then retracement, or then continuation. So the very next arrow, I'm almost willing to bet, and I'll stay another 5 minutes for this, it's going to be a down arrow or an up arrow at this point. And then we'd have to wait for it to clear, and then we're golden. Now, some of you are like, well, why couldn't you get in on that first arrow? Because I can't see the future. If I did, I wouldn't even be on the I wouldn't even be in this video for you. I'd be in Vegas playing cards. Selfishly. Maybe get my arms broke, but still. See, once we establish this uptrend, these 2 bars of pullback happened. Okay, it's not as exclusive as it is on the WB. You're gonna see the real. There's some advantages to both sides, right? Here you get a little bit more information with some good support and resistance, some real strong etiquette of resistance from that process, and it's pretty powerful. And that's what you have to really start looking at, is look at these timings that you begin to see, these relationships that build in between the numbers, right? So you look at the arrow and look at this MACD, right? And then you look at the SMA that's on here, and you look at a level. And between these 3, you got a lot of information. One, the price being above the SMA, right? You're above the SMA here, so you're bouncing off. And up on the MAC, right? Boom. But that only supports for a level at or either at the bottom of the price level, okay, for an up to go up, or the SMA. So if you're here on the SMA, a little safer. Here, a little bit more risk. The value of that risk. You see what I'm saying? So the first arrow, let me uncheck that. See, here's that arrow, and then I've looked at here, and then got my price in for here to come up, and of course easy win, right? Again, back to here, we re-clear with pullback, but because of this arrow is right here at this level, established arrow on a piercing of a support and resistance area, I don't get in. I don't even get in on the second arrow because we haven't excluded, because now it's below, and it's created resistance. So it hasn't established itself. Once it establishes itself, then I'm ready, and only then am I ready. And you've seen that I got in with the one winner. Now we're playing the uptrend here. Because this is the established one here, now that we know it's established, we're waiting for it to clear, okay? Because again, it's down below. I don't like seeing, you know, I want to see this thing establish itself above the SMA before I really start trading again, that it's clearly on one side or another. Because as long as it's sort of hovering at the SMA, it's 50-50 either side. Okay, so keep that in mind. So we've established shelf now, we're going in an uptrend, we're above the SMA, and we've already had our one arrow here, which would have probably been a great indicator to use. This would have probably been a really good trade, but I didn't get in because I, one, busy talking to you, as well as I didn't validate my high-low areas yet. These are some great numbers in here right now. Let's go see if there's anything on the big, no, nothing there. Let's go see here. What we're looking for, there we go. This is the first pullback now, right? This is the first pullback from this uptrend that we're doing. Boom, boom, boom. Wow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 arrows, continuation arrows. Well, again, it's not 6 continuation arrows, really only 4 continuation arrows, because these two were validated as pullbacks and then established arrows. So if we get another red arrow, I think I'm going to go, because if you look at this, every single one of these is one. But I wouldn't have traded every single one. Let me make that very clear. All right, so we've established that. We've established our process. I don't really see another signal coming up for a little while. I want you to take some of this information and just watching me trade. We did do one trade where we got $24, $22 for the hour that we're on. And again, if you don't think that's a lot of money, you're shameful, because $22, yeah, but how do you make 44? How do you make $220? Trade 10 contracts. But you got to get there to a point. All right? I'm Max Farrow. This is Dex Traded. We'll see you next time. We're going to be doing these just about every day, so you can watch and I go through this nonsense until you get it, until you really start seeing it. Buy into DexTrader.com. Get to the getting started. Use the code MAXOFFER, okay, that you watch this video, MAXOFFER, and that'll give you $50 off a month. That's right, $50 off a month. Normally $147 a month. Now only $97 with that code. We'll see you next time. I'm Max. This is Dex. And as always, trade well. All right, hey, I had to tag this video because right at the end of that video, making that video, all that stuff that we just talked about on, you know, with the trend heading up and everything else, and now we've reestablished a trend, that first pullback, and this is the first arrow. This is the Auto USD. We're in this particular trade because I got into this. I put the trade in at 74.08. That's what I was looking for. I got 74.09 with an acceptable reasonings, and now see, this is what's happening. So all that patience off, you know, on camera has led to this being off camera, but it's still here. So I want you to see that this is an actual trade that's here. Okay, that this is a real trade that's happening. When in this position, again, I only did one contract. We're working on a demo account, one that I've beaten to death with many different strategies, but in this particular one, using our system over here, I want you to see that this is another trade. So, and that we got in at market value, so it was $33. Okay, because we waited for the proper time and movement to happen. Now remember, we waited for all of this time to happen. It exclusively was a downtrend, and then reverted, and the numbers and everything started showing us. Once it broke the trend there, we paid attention, right? And then we allowed it to establish itself, had its little pullback, and its first bar, its first arrow after the pullback was the one we really pushed on. And that's where we're sitting at right now, okay? So I'm going to sit here just for another minute or so, just so it could do its thing. But you can see why it was important to wait for those moments. Okay, if we had been sitting here at $10 or 10 contracts a piece, this would have been a $330 win for us. Now, anything could happen. This thing could plummet faster than it rose or what have you. It always falls faster than it rises, right? So we got about a minute left. I just wanted you to see this within this process. So I had to actually, I was processing the video that we just made together, and I had to stop it to come back here and start recording again so you could see the value. I wanted you to see that all that patience is worth something, right? Even though you might be like, well, that's only it's only $33. Remember, CVG, baby. If you're sitting at 10, even if you're sitting at 5, it's $150 morning. And well, with the other one too, it'd be $250 morning, sitting here for an hour. How much is your time worth to you? Okay, and it's not a value of just today. It's like all the times put together. What is it worth? Waiting for the proper strike to hit. Okay, we got about 10 seconds left. 74.18. And there's the golden. Okay, boom. As we call it, winner, winner. Right now, no more long-winded justifications of why we got in and all that kind of stuff. Now you'll probably hear in the headset there's a whole bunch of things happening now. Here's another one that's happening off of this Euro USD above the line. And again, the second arrow there, second arrow here. We're heading in this downtrend. Here's that first primary arrow happening on the USD JPY. But my rule is I just came off of a trade. I have to go wait for the trade to justify to come back in. I may not get into any of these, right? Because I got to go put the numbers on. All right. I'm Max. This is Dex. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. Or I'd be sitting here all day trading with you. All right. Bye-bye.